Okay, let's have a look at this graphic in a bit more detail. This is a graphic Planning for Success, where we're talking about organisation and time requirements to make sure that integration event actually works well and gives the best chance of success both for you and for the students. So we starts off with this readiness assessment. So you can see this is actually situated in towards the end of the intermediate phase. This is not the very beginning of the unit, so don't be sort of misled by that. Readiness assessment means that you would do a low stakes formative assessment task, which might be like a Google Forms or a Jot form or even a pen and paper, that type of thing, basically as a mini quiz to ensure that the students are ready to go for that final phase. We're trying to ensure maximum success for the students in that final phase. So this is kind of, if you like, the sort of assessment that would be done. Readiness assessment would take maybe one lesson to do the assessment itself, and the second lesson provided for formative feedback. Having done that, you would then put the students through a few instructionals. So looking at whichever platforms you're going to choose, they would spend a lesson or two going online and having a look at tutorials on YouTube or even on the platforms themselves, so they get an idea of what they have to do. You would also co-create a marking rubric with the students at this point in time. So having a look at exactly what task you want them to do, what it's going to look like, the sort of top, exactly what needs to be done by them, and that would be something that they would have input in as well. So you're looking at at least 1 to 2 lessons with that. From there, the students would do the actual task itself, whether it's in class for one lesson or perhaps split over 2, maybe with a at-home component as well in between. From there, with the students having uploaded their task, you would then do a results analysis, as you would. So basically marking it. You'd analyse the students' achievement against that marking rubric that you had co-created with them. From there, we would go into the feedback phase. Ideally, you would be able to have some one-on-one feedback or like a teacher-student conference with your students to be able to talk about their performance and where they might need to go from there. There are, of course, other tech examples or platforms you can use to provide more detailed feedback if you wished. The student would also provide an evaluation of the task themselves. So what did they actually think of it? Has it actually helped them in their learning? Do they feel like, was it just all fun, or was it something that was worthwhile? From the feedback section would go to an evaluation from your perspective. Have a look at the opportunity cost with having used this digital platform. Was it as good as had you just done a pen and paper sort of a more traditional type of assessment in class? Was it worth it, basically? Was it worth it in terms of student learning? Not so far as in student engagement necessarily, because it was probably fun, but thinking very specifically about what learning has been achieved. So did the students enjoy it, and also did you leave enough time, even being mindful of these particular points in the graphic. Finally, for you, when you finish up this particular integration, you would then have a look at the students' work, select a high, medium and low sample of performance against that rubric, and keep that for moderation purposes, and also if you're going to be recycling this task for the following year or down the track. You would then look at your lesson sequence and make sure your annotations were done in there in terms of time allocation, all of the things we've just spoken about. And finally, you would complete the program register. So quite a lot of things to think about with putting something together. We're using a digital platform, but organisation is the key, and being very realistic about your own and your students' kind of readiness and motivation to use the platform.